Welcome back to the Piping Pastor. Today I have decided to do a little cellar maintenance. That is to say, I have ordered some new lids for my mason jars. Some of them are quite a few years old, and a few of them have been, the rubber ring has been compromised various times by me leaving a stray piece of tobacco in there and twisting it down. So I have several that are not keeping a very good seal, and I thought, you know what, I'm just going to replace them all now because the glass bit is fine. I mean, glass does not wear out, obviously. So rather than purchase all brand new ball canning jars, and I guess, I don't know, recycle the bottoms of the other ones, being a bit more frugal, and I got a pack of replacement, just the lids, for like $9. And it'll be enough to replace all the lids on all my mason jars so they'll all start fresh and new. Because I purchased different ones at different times. And so most of the seals on them are fine. But I know they'll eventually go as well. So rather than, try to bide my time and keep some in storage, I'm just going to replace them all at the same time. Something for you to keep an eye on. Rubber rings on your ball canning jars. Ball canning jar is actually produced in my home state of Indiana, in Muncie. There's a university called Ball State University, named after the Ball family, who still produce those canning jars. But as I was going through and looking at this and deciding to do this, I, of course, was looking over my cellar, and it's not overly large, right? It has plenty of tobacco in there that's going to last me a very long time. But it got me thinking about some of the cellars that others in the YTPC have, because they are expansive. And it got me thinking about not why you have so many tobaccos. I get wanting to have a variety and so on and so forth. But the amount. And it really made me wonder if it's tied to our human, I guess you could say, denial of mortality. Because if you think about it for a second, tobacco is a perishable product. Yes, you can age it for decades and years. In most cases, if you keep it the right way, it's fine, so on and so forth. But for the most part, it's a consumable product. I shouldn't say perishable. It's a consumable product. It is meant to be smoked. We buy it to smoke it, right? And many of the people in our community have these cellars that, just to be frank, you're not going to live long enough to smoke that. You're not. You live to be 100, you're still not going to smoke all that tobacco. So then what happens after that? Well, do you leave it in your will? Are there other members of your family who smoke a pipe? In most cases, in people that have these massive cellars, that's not the case. They don't, they don't have a son or a daughter or niece or a nephew or someone else like that they've ever spoken about that would, inherit this large amount of tobacco. And even if they did, let's be honest, I mean, in some cases, these cellars would take 3 generations to smoke through. So I'm not saying this in a disparaging way, like, oh, you're hoarders or anything else like that. I'm just saying, I wonder if, people purchase these tobaccos thinking that, oh, I'll get to that. Oh, I will be able to smoke that. Because, I mean, when I look through on my tobacco order, sometimes I'm like, oh, I want some of that, some of that. Oh, I should just get 2 or I should get 3. And then I stop myself and think, like, okay, am I going to get to that? When am I going to get to that? Should I buy more tobacco now, or should I smoke through a couple of the jars I already have before I get to that? Because I know in my case, there's no one to leave this tobacco to. Whatever is there when I'm dead is, I don't know, going to get sold off, or more than likely, don't get angry, but it'll more likely get tossed away. And it's not like collecting other things, right? If you collect nutcrackers or something else like that, it's a static object that can be sold or gifted or what have you. It's an object that is, the intent of it is to consume it. And if you're not going to consume it, why have so much? Why do you feel the need to have so much? Sometimes those questions are important to ask ourselves. And as I was thinking about that, mortality, I reached again for this anthology of poems from the Cosmos Club. I thought, I think this is a book I'm going to stick with for a while. I think there's a lot of really good works in here, and it's a special book because I talked about the Cosmos Club in my last video, but this anthology was published by the Cosmos Club privately. They published it themselves. It's a self-published collection, largely just for members of the club. So you're probably not going to find this on Amazon. I haven't looked yet, but probably not. Or if so, it'll be someone selling their own copy or a copy they got from a relative at some exorbitant price or something. I happened upon this in a used bookstore in Maryland, so I got lucky. But there's a lot of really good stuff in here because it's a conversation between science and literature. And religion plays a huge part in this. And of course, science and religion has been my area of research. So it makes sense for me to be attracted to this book. And this one, I think, was probably the intent of the author was not to deal with the issue of mortality, but that's what I'm getting from it. And that's a great thing about poetry. It's like Emily Dickinson said, tell it slant. They offer a perspective of reality that sometimes the words know more than they do. And it can speak more than what they actually initially intended. A wonderful thing about poetry. So this is the poem called Renewal by John Brown. I've learned to keep checking my microphone now that it's bugged out on me a few times. Begin again, the way each spring does. Rise and fall, the way a swing does. Love the road more than the end. Find fixity, the mortal sin. Love the adding, not the sum. Stay becoming, not become. Give your ardor to the striving, and fear nothing save arriving. So essentially, this poem is about, loving the journey, not the destination, right? That we should ever pursue progress and movement and don't be afraid of anything except settling, because once you settle, that's the end of it. Always renew, always be springtime. And it's a lovely thought to keep moving forward and not wanting to settle. But what is the ultimate form of settling? The ultimate form of fixity, which he refers to as the mortal sin. It's death, right? So the idea of constantly renewing yourself, chasing after experiences and loving the road and moving forward, what are you moving for? What are you moving from? What are you moving to? Is it a fear of that ultimate destination? Ecclesiastes chapter 3, the Bible tells us that there's a time for everything, a time to be born and a time to die. It's coming. No one gets out of this alive. But we have this head knowledge that yes, there is such a thing as mortality. We will come to an end at some point. And yet all of our actions belie that knowledge. Whether it be chasing after youth culture, running down the road, constantly renewing, or setting up massive stores of tobacco that we are not going to live long enough to smoke. Look at some of the reasons for what you do. Think deeply about what are the things that you do. And if you don't have a true understanding of your mortality, it's a good idea to get there, because you will leave this mortal coil. But eternity follows after. The question then is, where are you going to spend eternity? And there is a narrow road that leads to life. Because once things end here, and they will, they always do, there's only one person who got out of here alive, and that person was Jesus Christ, who was also God. So you're not going to make it. Think about what comes next. Don't get fixated on storing up stuff here. Don't get fixated on pushing off the idea of mortality. Become comfortable with it. Realize it for what it is, and then start thinking about what the next step for you is. Well, I never told you what I'm smoking. This is Haunted Bookshop and oh, sorry, it's Haunted Pirate Ship. It's my mixture: Haunted Pirate Ship, Haunted Bookshop, and Pirate Cake in the Peterson Lestrade. So I'm going to turn back to my Haunted Pirate Ship, my coffee. Enjoy the rest of my afternoon. I will be traveling again this next week. Be out and doing my way wilderness ministry for about a week and a half. So it'll be a couple weeks before I'm back. But when I am, I look forward to sharing some more from the Cosmos Club. So I hope you have a lovely week. As always, happy reading.